Alright, so we have talked about using the mole as kind of an analogy with a dozen, or a dozen as an analogy for the mole, and we've looked at how to calculate molar mass. And we've also looked at how to figure out the number of particles from a mole, so let's kind of see how we can combine the two ideas. We're first going to talk about jelly beans because everybody likes jelly beans. And the question is, what mass of jelly beans should you measure if a customer wants 5 dozen jelly beans? And if we know the mass of a dozen jelly beans, then we can do this. Okay. So using the mass of 1 dozen jelly beans, we can figure out how many dozen jelly beans we need. Okay, or if we know how many we need, we can find the mass. So we can go vice versa using this as a conversion factor. So to write the molar mass in this case, or the dozener mass as a conversion factor, we could write that 1 dozen jelly beans has a mass of 35 grams, and that if we have 35 grams of jelly beans, that's the same thing as saying that we've got 1 dozen jelly beans. So if we want 5 dozen jelly beans, we can see how much that should weigh. Okay, we want to get rid of dozen as our units, or dozen jelly beans, so we do not want this conversion factor. We would like the one with 1 dozen in the denominator, and the mass of 1 dozen jelly beans on top in the numerator. So we'll see that a dozen jelly beans cancel, and we should have 5 times 35 grams, okay, as our answer. So that means that if 1 dozen weighs that much, we should have 5 times that amount, so multiplying makes sense. Right, so you should have to measure 175 grams of jelly beans. Okay, so if you had a balance or whatever right there, you wouldn't have to count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, blah, 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 blah. Instead, you could just put jelly beans on the balance until you see this mass, and that should mean that you have exactly 5 dozen jelly beans. Okay.